Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. I am Natalie Petro. I'll be your host tonight. And in this episode, we'll be diving into something that is really close to all of us, and it is learning English as a second language. We all have unique stories, challenges, and experiences on this amazing journey, and we are excited to share it with you. Whether you are just starting or have been learning for years, here in this podcast, we as Lilay students are going to talk about it and about also the strategies that work and the memorable moments that come with mastering a second language. Uh, so grab your cups of coffee and let's talk about our personal experiences. First of all, I want to present to my classmates. First of all, we have here Andres Felipe Sandoval, also Diana Caterine Ávila, Omar Snyder Pulido, Juliet Dayana Torres, and me, Natalie Petro. The first question I want to start with is when and how do you start to learning English? So, Andres Felipe, please tell us.
Hello, classmate Natalie. Thank you very much for introduce myself. Okay, I have been studying English for approximately 7 years. To accomplish my current level of English, I attended to a languages institute to acquire my current English level. Yeah, I remember that I have to approve six English levels to acquire my present English level. Yeah.
What about you, Diana? How did you start to learn English?
Hello, everyone. Okay, my journey with English began at 16 in 2021 when I enrolled in university. Although I haven't basic word grammar and phrases in school, I admit I didn't pay much attention in English classes because I wasn't interested and didn't anticipate studying a degree that would require it. However, when I began my university program, I realized that the content in this subject was too advanced for me to master the language with just what I had learned in school. That's when I decided to start studying English independently on YouTube. It's been a slow process, but comparing my current skills to where I started, I can definitely say I have made significant progress.
Wow, that's really interesting, Diana. Thank you. Now, what about you, Omar? How did you start learning English? Omar, can you hear me?
Okay, in the first, yes.
Oh,
Can you
okay,
hear me?
welcome. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, in the first instance, good evening to everyone. According to the great question, I consider that I can let's go back to sixth grade. That's where it all began for me. So I remember sitting in my classroom, fascinated by the new language. My teachers believed I had potential, and their encouragement motivated to keep different learning. Um, In this moment, I think in the great question. In this case, why was I so interested in the language English? I believe I consider it was the dream of traveling. I imagine myself exploring other countries, meeting new people in different places, and speaking their language confidently. I consider that dream become my driving force. Uh, so in addition, years later in 2021, when I decided to study in the university to take my English skills to the next level. In this case, I already knew some grammar and spelling abilities, but I quickly realized that learning the new language is about much more than just memorizing rules. It's I when I you the I consider.
Thank you, Omar. I have seen so long ago how your process of studying English has made you to grow. I really want to congratulate you because I started with you from the first period, and I am a very good testifier of how you improved your skills with effort and with a lot of study. Now, Juliet, how about you? What can you tell us?
Thank you. My learning of English and the intermediate level has been an experience of continuous growth. At this stage, I already have a fairly solid grasp of basic grammar and the same vocabulary, which allows me to read and understand simple text. Sometimes encounters difficulties when trying to understand a more complex text or listening to kid conversation in English. As for speaking, I have started to feel more comfortably participate in simple conversations, but it's still difficult to mind and fluid and fast conversation, especially when I don't understand a word or when I encounter a sentence different from the one I have learned. I have noticed is what when speaking in English. I have a bit of trouble finding the right words, right, a with which can make me feel insecure in a conversation. Thank you.
You welcome Juliet. That was also interesting. And for all of us, in that point when we started, it was challenging to start. All of us are Spanish speakers, native, and we sometimes live in contexts that are not easy to learn a second language because most of our families maybe don't speak that language. In my case, for example, I think I am the oldest in this group. I started in school long time ago, and for that time they didn't teach us English as nowadays. Uh, I say they teach us, but not with the intensity they do it nowadays. Yeah. So I really started to learn English in an institute that doesn't exist anymore. That was called Major Institute. I studied 4 levels, and for that point, the English became not just another class, but a challenge for me to learn. This journey to get this level I have was long, uh, was not easy, and even though I have some abilities to learn the language, there were some moments where I feel like I was not advancing. Yeah. Um, so the way I started to learn English in my case, but it was a large journey of watching movies, of starting to talk with some people and look for them that speak in English, and a lot of listening to music. It helped me a lot to have a band that played rock, and most of our songs were in English, so it helped me a lot. But I consider the point that I started to speak and to understand English well was when I surrounded with people that know more English than me. They push me ahead. Well, the next question proposed here for this podcast is, what challenges do you face and how you overcome them in this journey of learning English? So, Andres, tell us.
Hmm. Okay, thank you very much for your question. Well, I remember when I was studying English at Languages Institute. I had a lot of difficulties with the podcast, and because in that institute the listening test were in British, yeah, in British English, and I couldn't understand anything that the speaker said. That throughout the English levels, I was able to understand more the British accent, and I'm sorry, I have gotten used to it, to the British accent, yeah, related to speaking skills. I was very shy to speak, but I think now I am more skilled, capable to speak more in English and speak with native speakers. In I remembered, my vocabulary was very basic, yeah, and in that institute I learned about advanced vocabulary, and for example, my related to my reading skills. My reading skills was very basic, yeah, but throughout the years, I have understood more, for example, advanced readings. Yeah, for example, I have been able to summarize documents. For example, find important information and understand the main ideas of the readings. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, Andres, that is really true. That one of the challenges that I think most of all have faced is the accent point. It's not the same. The British is, even in the same country, there are different accents that we have to learn to recognize. And even if you see on Instagram, TikTok, and other social media, there are some laughs and jokes about it. For example, the Adele one that started to talk and no one can understand that. Yeah. Now, Diana, what do you think about it? What challenges have you had in this process?
Okay, I have faced challenges such as lack of language skills, limited time and monitor for an English course, lack of practice in oral expression, and the need to expand my vocabulary. To tackle this, I use online apps and YouTube courses. However, the biggest challenge I encountered was the motivation. I remember having a tutor in my English 3 course who never praised me or congratulated me for doing something right. Instead, he only pointed out my mistakes in a rather constructive way. The grade I received in that course was the lowest I have ever gotten, and all of this led to my growing demotivation. However, um, once I got past that situation, I made a decision. I would never act like that tutor, and I would use that semester to study English on my own. This decision paid off in the following semesters, as not only did my English improve, but I also saw progress in my other subjects.
Thank you, Diana. I think motivation is one of the challenges that also we all have day a day. Um, because even now, developing this work is not easy to have a job, to have a family, to have other compromises, and still in this process of learning. It's different when you, for example, only study or only have a duty to do, than, for example, in our cases that we have a lot to do. And I can te- tell you that this process of learning English is more not for the qualification or for the regarding you can get from your teachers or classmates, but to be your better, uh, uh, how to say it, better than yourself, than your yesterday yourself. Yeah. And don't think that we don't have that challenge day a day, because we do. Um, Now I want that Omar tell us about it. What do you think?
Okay, according to this question, I consider that one of the of my biggest challenges has been fluency because I consider sometimes I have problems with different persons and the time of the express my ideas about these different topics. I often feel nervous when speaking in this language, especially with people who had a higher level of prophecy. Um, I consider that the one of question or important question in this case is, have you ever been afraid of making different mistakes? Uh, I consider that fear held me back a long time. Um, Likewise, sometimes people will even love my attempts, which made me feel even more insecure and nervous. Um, I For the solution these things, I realize something important. I consider that the mistakes are part of the process of the learning a new language. In this case, instead of letting fear stop me, in this case, I decide to embrace it. I think that the music played a huge role in helping me overcome this challenge. In this case, when I mentioned previously, I started watching music production tutorials and listening to different song genres and even singing along. I believe and I consider that these activities help me improve my pronunciation and reading in the second language. I also join group meetings with the classmates and tutors. I consider where I feel supported and encouraged. I consider that this this important thing in this process in the acquiring the speaking abilities. In my case, I believe that those interactions gave me the confidence and the confidence to express myself and my different ideas about different topics. And I consider that this process it wasn't perfect.
Yeah, Omar, that is true. And it's not an easy thing to be fluent when we have not the enough resources that we need to speak. About the people who laugh at us, one day we will laugh at them in English. So that's all. Now, I want that Juliet talk about it. Tell us about the challenges you have seen in your process. Juliet, are you okay? I can see you or listening to you. Hello, you are back.
Thank you. Yes. One of the biggest challenges I continue to face, and this level is verbal fluency. Although I can understand many words and phrases, when speaking, I feel that my pronunciation is not always clear. And this makes me doubt my ability to communicate effectively. In addition, listening remains a barrier. Although I can understand slow conversation or those is controlling context, when it comes to listening to native speakers or fast-paced conversation is struggling to keep up. Another significant challenge is expanding my vocabulary beyond the basics. Although I can communicate in everyday situations, I think that my ability to talk about more specific topics, such as those related to my career or interests, is still limited.
Right, right. You already listed all the all the things that we are working on. One of the most important, for example, in my case, is that one you mentioned about to understand a native speaker. For me, really challenging when they speak, not even fast, sometimes normal. I need them to speak a little slow to understand them, even when I have studied a lot and I practiced a lot. That still been a problem to me. But in my case, the worst challenge I have found in this process is the environment. I refer that while I'm learning English, my mother doesn't speak it, my brothers neither. My friends, most of them doesn't know anything about English, and I am in this environment where all people speak Spanish, and those who speak in English doesn't they don't do it well. So if I do a mistake, they will not correct me. They will let it be just like that. So I have not this opportunity to improve my skills. Sorry. Sorry for that. I think that we need to immerse in the language, and we have not that opportunity because of our context. So, if we were in a country where people know the language or in an environment where all the people know about it, we will learn really faster. This that took a lot of years for us. Now, Andres, eh, how how do you improve your process? What effective strategies have you used?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Well, related to grammar and vocabulary, related to grammar, when I was studying at high and at that languages institute, I purchased some grammar books. I think those books are good to improve my grammar skills. And I think some YouTube channels are good as well. Yeah, for example, English with Lucy. Oh my gosh, I love that channel to improve, for example, my British accent because she is British. Yeah, and I have a I have been able to understand that she say in her videos. Yeah, and another channel that I think is good to improve my grammar is called Pacho Francisco. I think this is a good channel to improve my grammar. Yeah, related to vocabulary. Um, I consider when I was writing, for example, an essay or a document. For example, I have to read and reread a lot of times the document to improve my redaction. Yeah, I think in this situation, I have to look up in a dictionary, and I think this is a good strategy to range my vocabulary to acquire more advanced vocabulary. Yeah, related to speaking skills, I remember in the previous English courses, in for example at UNAD, I remember the speaking encounters. Oh my gosh, I love that events because I have been able to participate in these events, and I can interact with other people to interact in English. Yeah, I love that these kinds of events related to listening. Obviously, for example, imitate the accents and watch, for example, series. For example, in my case, I love zombies, zombies movies and zombie series. For example, Walking Dead. And for example, I put the that series in English, and I listen carefully the accent and dialogues in this series. And for example, the podcast in English, I think are good strategies to improve speaking skills. Yeah, and listening skills. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Andres, and thank you for all those comments. I agree with you with about the speaking sessions of the university because these sessions help me a lot to improve my English skills, especially listening and also speaking, of course, but most of all, the confidence. The confidence in this process, the confidence that you can have mistakes and no one is going to laugh with you because they are in the same process and they will understand and support you. Uh, Now, Diana, what do you think? What do you do to improve your skills?
One of the most effective strategies for me was total immersion. While studying and especially during vacations, I made it a goal to consume content in English. This included watching series, movies, listening to music, and even reading articles and books. At first, I didn't understand much, but over time, I began to recognize patterns, keywords, and common phrases, which helped me improve my listening and reading skills. Another important strategy was speaking in English as much as possible, even if it was just with myself. Later, I joined some apps to practice speaking with native speakers and other people learning English. This last part has been a bit challenging for me because I am a shy person and I need a lot of confidence to speak comfortably, even in Spanish.
Great. I found that we share some strategies as watching movies, TV series, surrounded with friends who speak English too. So thank you, Diana. Omar, what about you?
Okay, in my case, according to this specific question, I consider that one of the most important is connecting theory with the practice. When I has I mentioned previously in my reflection, in this case, whenever I learn a new grammar rule or vocabulary word, I immediately try to use in a sentence or conversation uh, according to different topic of my interest. In addition, I also use language learning apps to practice pronunciation and expand my vocabulary. Um, and listening to music when I consider that's the important thing for me. And and likewise, the music production, because it's a thing when I consider that is easy to learn to new language. In my case, to watch different tutorials according to this the music production in different platforms, applications or programs. And I I listen in different podcasts about different topics, maybe astronomy and different uh, kinds of books or articles. Um, and in on the other hand, I consider that it's important watch movies or TV series in this language, in this case in English, because I consider that in my case is something that help me uh, in different ways. Maybe I I watch different movies in English to in order to improve my listening skills and speaking skills, and acquire a new vocabulary about different topics of my interest. Um, Likewise, most importantly, I've learned to embrace every opportunity to speak English, whether it's with uh, my classmates and partners, some tutors, or even persons. In this case, I use this moment to identify my weaknesses and improve my different speaking abilities or listening abilities, and improve step by step.
Great, Omar. Thank you. Thank you for those contributions. Now, Juliet, what about you?
Thank you. Um, the most significant thing that has helped me is consistency. That's Kate dedicate at least 15 and 30 minutes and day to student vocabulary, grammar, and practice pronunciation. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet. And those little spaces of time are really important to improve the language. If you really dedicate daily that space of time to study, to improve your vocabulary, and to learn more, you will get it. You will reach your goal. I don't have anything to add because we are already talk about all the strategies we implement. So go ahead with the next question. And I want you to share with me one of those memorable experiences you have had in your lives that you remember in this journey. Andres, go ahead.
Okay, I am going to answer your question. Well, I remember obviously the first memorable experience with the language is finish finish English in the Language Institute. I think I I felt very proud of me finishing this course because I learned significantly knowledge about the English, yeah, because my I consider I learned a bunch about the language. My grammar was advanced. For example, in my reading, uh, my reading skills I think has advanced a lot because, for example, I can identify the main the main ideas of a test. For example, I can use, for example, some strategies for advanced level. For example, scanning and skimming skills. These skills is related in international tests. Um, Another memorable, for example, I felt very happy with I could understand informant slangs and informant language used for native speakers. I very proud of that. And in addition to this, for example, speak. For example, the previous task of English 7 in this course. For example, when I spoke for uh, for more than 5 minutes. Oh my gosh, I love that because I um, I used advanced and scientific knowledge to acquire in English. Uh, I I felt very proud of that. Yeah, I think this is a memorable event. I'm sorry, the last one it was native speakers because native speakers is very difficult and I think is an we are privileged to speak with native speakers because it's very difficult to find them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andres. that you was talking about is really important for all of us. Also, the thing you mentioned about the happiness you experienced when you get this 5 minute speech, the ability to speak continue by 5 minutes is something that is a proud motive and is a really good goal we get it in this point. Mm, I remember also that time when I uh, make my first sentence for the first time. We all have passed over that. Diana, tell us about it. Those experience you remember.
Okay, one memorable experience for me, as some of you have mentioned already, has been the encounters I have participated during this course, especially because I have had the opportunity to connect with people who are also learning English. They all made mistakes just like I did, and it was encouraging to see that we were all in the same boat. Additionally, we were able to learn about different topics while improving our English at the same time.
Thank you, Diana. Not because we are in this presentation, but those speaking sessions are one of the best things in this career. Yeah, in this program. Now, Omar, tell us about it.
Okay, in my case, one of the most memorable moments for me was participating in group meetings during my process. Uh, I consider that these sessions I was able to speak without fear adjustment uh, because I have mentioned previously. I consider that is my principal challenge and problem in my learning process of English, of learning English. In addition, I consider that the music production and the listening to music help me in different ways because I have mentioned in other cases because I consider that I speak the different ways to the they use different kinds of vocabulary according to this topic or about the different books, articles, or podcasts, maybe. Uh, I consider that watch movies or and watch TV series help me to improve my listening skills because I acquire different vocabulary. Um, and I lost the the scary to time spreads with different people about about different conversations, especially with native speakers, because I consider that the accent is very difficult, especially the British accent. Although this accent is my favorite, um, yes, in this case, this is my most memorable moment in in my learning process of second language.
Thank you, Omar. And now, Juliet, what
Thank you.
about your memorable experience?
Thank you. My most memorable moment was talking to someone from an English speaking country, or even someone whose native language is not English but use the language to communicate. It was very meaningful to realize how English acts and varies between cultures, and I was able to understand and acquire much more skill.
Thank you, Juliet. I want to share with you the most memorable memory I had is going in this band uh, with a girl called Birgit Chopin. That is a girl that is an influencer in the world. And I was invited to an event in Medellin, and we shared the band that the hotel and the event have prepared for us. She was from England, and she just speaks in English and has the ability to speak in English, give me the opportunity to get a contract that helped me a lot in my work. So it was a memorable memory because if I didn't, if I haven't learned English, I would have lost this opportunity. Now, this is a tricky one and I like it a lot. This question is, what is your current level? What do you think about it? Because we have had a lot of tests, of international tests, but we have other qualifications and other things about our English level, and also, what are your future goals about it? And this is the last question. I want to ask you for answer short because of the time, and be concrete, please, Andres.
Okay, I considered my English level is still B2, and my future goals is accomplish the C1, but it's a little complex to accomplish that level. I think I have to I don't know. I have to study in a language institute, the C1 level, because I I couldn't find the way to accomplish that level because it's very frustrating for me. Don't reach that level. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Andres, I think that go to C1, for example, is one of the hardest steps in our journey because we all reach B or B1 or B2. It depends of the test we have and the mood our brain is in that moment that we take this kind of tests. But I think that's a point or a line we can cross ahead to get that C1. Most of us are in that point. Diana, what is your English level and what are your goals to improve it?
Um, my current level is B2. According to the exams I have taken, I plan to continue using the same strategies I have implemented so far to improve my English. I also hope to overcome obstacles like tiredness in order to engage in more conversations in English with native speakers or other learners, recognizing that this will help accelerate my progress.
Great, Diana. Thank you. Omar, what about you? Are you C1 now? Or are we still in the same point that the last period?
Okay, can you hear me, Natalie?
Yes, Omar, I can hear you clear and loud.
Okay, according to this question, My English level is B2. Two. I consider that it's been an incredible journey to get here, but I believe that it's not stopping. Stopping. In this case, my goal is to reach to advanced level, improve all my skills, my different skills, especially fluency. As I have mentioned previously, um, in addition, I plan to explore new methods of learning, challenge myself with more complex and different activities. Um, and on the other hand, and stay consistent in my efforts. I could say I know I won't be easy. It's a hard process, um, but I consider that I'm ready to push myself further because I believe in my potential.
I do too. I do too. I know you all are going to get it. I hope me too. Juliet, what is your English level and what are you going to do to improve it? On what are your goals about it?
Thank you. Improving verbal fluency in my main goals. It's to be able to speak more confidently and without having to pause for long to think of the right words. To do this, I plan to practice more conversation and speaking more spontaneously. I need to improve my vocabulary relative to my area of study or work. This will allow me to participate more confidently in conversations about the specific topics. My goal is to be able to understand faster and more complex conversation. To this, I am plan to listen to different tips on content from news to titles to get used to different accents and speeds. In the long term, I would like to obtain an English certification, issues as the FCA or the TOEAFL, so that I can measure my progress and have informal validation on my language skills. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet. Um, we all share this goal of improve our language skill, and I want to add it that we are Lilly students, so we are going to be teachers of languages. So in my case, for example, I want to be as all of us as you want, and why not to become to the level of native speaker? Yeah. Juliet was mentioning that she want to improve in her knowledge area and in our cases in all the areas because we teach languages, so we have to learn about all the themes. But ahead of that, going beyond, I want to learn also other languages. For example, French. I want to learn this language because we already learn how to teach them. Yeah, the strategies in this learning teaching process, and we can learn other languages to teach. I think this space was really, really interesting. We here can share all our thoughts, our feelings, and why not experiences that we were talking about outside these spaces. I really appreciate your contributions and hope you get all those goals. Yeah. So thank you all and see you next time. Bye bye.
See you, Natalie.
So
See you. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you for your attention.